I wish it did a freaking sound or
I
something.
know.
Welcome back, babes, to Fear Babes podcast. The season 6 finale, yay!
Woo! Yeah.
Uh, so, today is September 13th, 2025. Um, if you're anybody who has internet access at all, you know that this week's been a pretty heavy fucking week for the United States of America. Like, one thing after another.
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to find my thoughts here, sorry.
It's been
So, go
overwhelming
ahead.
for sure.
Yeah. I'm big sad about everything. And just like the world has got me depressed right now, to be honest with you. Um but on the other hand, on the flip side of things, I feel like I need to tell you guys this because I feel like it's been weighing on me a lot the last couple of days. So on the other side of things, I've noticed recently that a lot of people feel the need to get closer to God, which to me is like that's an amazing thing to see happen. Um, I have had several conversations with people in my personal life and online this week privately about where they stand with it, their relationship with God, and like basically people are just wanting to open that dialogue with me because they know from listening to us or like people in my personal life just from talking to them that you and I are Christians. And for one, I'm honored that people want to have those conversations with me. Um, it just makes me feel really good. But for the other, on the other hand, I just want everybody that's listening to this to know that my DMs are open. The world feels very strange right now,
For sure.
and
Yeah.
I don't, like I said, I'm depressed. I'm in a, yeah, it's just like a generalized funk. I don't really know how to articulate it. And so if you're feeling alone, scared, confused, want to know more info about, like, I don't know how to say it because everybody's relationship with God is going to be different. But if you want to know how I view things and, like, just for curiosity's sake, for example, because, like I said, I've had some people come to me about that this week, which, like, again, super honored that people feel safe enough to do that. I just want you guys to know that my DMs are open if anybody needs to or wants to talk, as long as we are respectful with each other. Feel free to reach out.
I agree with that. I've also had people come to me this week privately in my DMs and like honestly, it's I truly feel honored that people trust me enough to come to me. You know, like that is like
I
one
know.
of the greatest things in life is for me personally is to be able to share my relationship with God and God's word and how I was saved through Jesus Christ. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you know, this world really is, I mean, America especially, we have a lot of work to do as a country. I think that um, the events of this past week, just as a whole, there have been school shootings, assassinations, senseless murders, and things that we should never ever have to endure as a country. And no country or person or group of people should ever have to go through. But with the state of the world, it is just something that, like, I'm trying, it's so hard to, like, find the right words to say. But I mean, with
Yeah.
the state of the world, it's just so beautiful to see people wanting to turn to God. And I understand that everybody does not um, view religion in a positive light, and I completely understand that. Um, Religious trauma is a very real thing. And I just want you to know here on our podcast, where I feel that we try to make it as safe of a place as possible, as respectable of a place as possible, despite us like making jokes and being so dumb sometimes, um, that God loves you. I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I know Burgundy also loves you. And,
Yes.
I really do. I open my DMs and my platform for communication as well, because it is so important to me to lead people to God, truthfully.
Yeah.
And yeah. Yeah.
I would like to add on your comment of people have religious trauma, as well as a disclaimer. My relationship with God is very unconventional, um, incredibly so. I don't do anything textbook, if you will, for lack of a better phrase. And I've actually been told this week that my viewpoint on it is very refreshing. So if you do have traumas and whatnot, I'm not saying that I can help you, but I'm just saying I am willing to give a perspective that you probably maybe not have heard before. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
If you need it, reach out.
I feel like, I grew up in a very fortunate situation when it comes to, if you see a little hand or paw stick out, that is my brother's cat. I am presently pet sitting for him. So don't get freaked out. It's nothing paranormal. It's just her being dumb.
Ghosts.
And super cute. But I was fortunate enough to be raised in a healthier church environment. But I completely understand the religious trauma, because there are many people, even in church communities right next door, who endured awful things in their churches, and that should have never happened. And those are people who are not true followers of Christ, unfortunately, and they put a bad taste in people's mouth. But your trauma is valid, it is legitimate. And even though I have perhaps a more traditional standpoint on things, I'm not a person to ever criticize anyone for anything. It's not
Yeah.
in me to ever do that. Um, and I think that's why the events of this week have been so heavy on our hearts. Like, we've had private conversations amongst ourselves, and it's overwhelming. What's even more overwhelming is being able to see the graphicness of these things happening in our country. And it's traumatizing. It's very heavy. And it's a lot. It's a lot to absorb. It's something that we should never have to absorb. It's something that we should never have to endure. But alas, like, it unfortunately is the reality right now. And through social media, I've been trying to take it back as much as I can, because it is just so overwhelming right now. But there are so many people out there who are speaking on the word of God, who are trying to educate people in as healthy and as non like violent way as possible. And that has been so refreshing to seeing people, schools actually grouping up in prayer, seeing all these young people take action in a healthy way has been super refreshing to see, despite all the evil in this world, especially here at home in America. There have also been protests in London, and millions of people showed up for that. So that is beautiful to see, that there are still amazing people in this world. So that's a little bit of positivity amongst all the negativity, is that despite the evil, there are still great people and great things about this world still. And sometimes you have to just take that for what it is. You know what I mean? Like, you can't always let the negative consume you. And I know that that's easier said than done because this week it's been very heavy. But I think that us being able to arise from the ash of the evil and being able to just go straight forward and head on through all of this is very commendable. And, you know, it's very inspiring to see all the positivity because it makes me want to be a positive person. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I did not expect to get this emotional while we're talking about it.
I know.
So I'm just trying to, like, don't cry. I would also like to point out that, like, I stated that I have an unconventional relationship with God, and Mad stated that she's a very traditional relationship, and neither is good or bad.
Right.
And I would like to say that what works for you is all that matters. So you need to find what works best for you and stick to what works best for you, and it might be trial and error for a while, but what works for one person doesn't always work for the other, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And so you need to do what's best for you, because what works for me is not going to work for you, is not going to work for Mads. Some variation of all of it could be, but maybe not. So,
It is why there's multiple denominations after all, so.
exactly.
So, you know what I mean?
Okay, so we'll leave you with that, and we will move on to the next topic. Unless you had anything else you needed to say.
No. I hope I got my point across as best as I could.
I think you did.
Appreciate
But I'm also not you, and I can't read your brain, so
that.
my perception is that you did a good job.
Sometimes you can read my brain, so.
So on that note, we have a stupid. It's not stupid, but we have this thing. It's called a banter bot at work, and it's like a randomized bot thing we added to Slack. And on Wednesdays and Fridays, it puts a chat in, and it's just like a random question, and everybody's supposed to answer it, like just for funsies, you know. And it was one of them recently was like, if you could have a superpower, what would it be? And I was like this close to being like mind reading, but I can already do that. But I didn't want people to think I was weird, so I didn't say that.
How to make people uncomfortable one-on-one. People are like, oh no, she knows what I'm thinking right now. She knows what I did last night as I'm thinking about it right now.
Laid in bed and watched gaming and ate snacks.
Literally my actual every single night. Like, no joke. I just watch people play games, and that's pretty much the extent of, like, my excitement these days.
Bro, when we hop off here, we should play games instead.
Yeah, we probably should, because we've actually gotten back into playing Among Us.
Oh my god, I'm obsessed right now.
Well, I say back
Logos.
into, but I never played it when it was at its peak, so yikes. But it has been fun playing it. I'm kind of addicted. I definitely see the appeal now. So,
Dude, we played the other night for Fear Babes After
oh my
Dark,
god.
which you can find on our Patreon if you would like to subscribe to that. I was getting so heated at the randos we were playing with.
No,
dude.
you were. You actually were.
They were so annoying.
But it was kind of
But they were all attacking me for no reason.
It was valid, because, like, I was sitting there and I was like, yo. But then they were always, like, I don't know if you noticed this in the gaming, but they were always, like, accusing me of being the imposter. And then they were just picking fights with you the
I know. I was like, what did I even do? I'm just sitting
And
here.
we played with the same couple of people for like a while too.
Sick. Sorry, I'm just messaging the game.
So that was really fun. So, but
You know what though, Mads? For our listeners, if we had a Discord and we wanted to play Among Us, for example, with you guys, would anyone be interested?
because we do this like on a weekly basis.
Sometimes like 3 times a week we be gaming, so
Yeah, not even once a week. It's multiple times.
or Repo or Peak. Like we'll play
yeah,
games.
Yeah.
I'm down to play games with y'all.
Right now,
just let me know.
my obsession is Water Park Simulator. Shout out.
Is that a 1-player game or a multi?
I think you can play multi, but it's mostly 1 player. But I really do like that game. It's fun. I like, this is just like my personality as a whole. I like games where there's progression. So like, I like games where like you fix things and you make it better, and there's like a reward in that for me. But I'm also a very like I like doing stuff like that in real life. Like, I like to cook. I like to clean. I like things that have, like, not as, like, the reward is a clean house or a nice meal or, like, baking a nice, dessert. Like, I just like stuff like that in real life. So I like games that have progression. But sometimes I like games where you can just mess around and, like, Among Us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So. I think Among Us is, like, it's fun with randos sometimes, but, like, people get really weird really fast in those games. Like, the names that were popping up that we had to kick out.
We had a couple of weird experiences, not gonna lie.
But, did you mute yourself just now? Okay. But, it's also fun playing with, like, people you know. Like, a bunch of people you know, because then it's, like... You kind of just, like, mess with each other a little bit, but it's, like, it's different messing with people you know versus, like, randos on the internet.
Yeah, that's true. I was thinking about that moment where I vented in Among Us, and apparently only imposters can do that.
Y'all, that was the funniest freaking thing. So, Mads and I are in voice chat, and we're playing with a bunch of other random-ass people. And they're all like, it's her, like, the color she was Rose. And so, like, they're like, it's Rose. Rose is the imposter. And she's like, how is it me? And they're like, Rose vented. And she goes, that was an accident. And I was like, dude, you just gave yourself away. And she's like, I didn't mean to vent. And I was like, Mads, only imposters can vent. And she was like, oops.
Oh, that's so funny. That was, like, the best moment that whole night. I was like, oh shit.
Rookie mistake, homie.
Well, now I know better.
Whoopsie daisy. It's okay, it happens.
Whoops.
Now you know.
Yeah, now I know. What did you do today? Did you do anything
today? Got eyelashes. Yay!
Yay!
Can you see them? Are they so pretty?
Yeah.
I used to get lashes from a different person, and that was not the best experience. And was giving weird advice, like, I was told to put Flonase in the corner of my eyeballs. Do not do that. Don't.
Do not do that.
That is not safe.
That's like...
Also, I never tried it. Full disclosure, I didn't even try it because I knew immediately. I was like, you can't do that. Yeah, gosh. I don't know. So this new person, she was very thorough. This is like they call it a new set because it's your first round and then you get fills every couple weeks. She was very, like, skilled, knowledgeable, had a lot of tips and tricks for me, and it was like a 4-hour appointment, and she just really takes her time, and, like, she wants to make sure, like, she knows, like, not everybody's lashes are the same, so different lashes are, like, different extensions or different weights and different lengths, and, like, they can affect how your eye responds to them, so she's, like, does the whole 9 yards, and I really appreciated it. And her vibe was super cool.
That's good. It's great.
And we talked the whole time, and yeah, so
Heck
that's
yeah.
pretty much all I did though, because I got up kind of late. I did like a few chores, like I made breakfast, so I just had bacon and frozen cotton candy grapes for breakfast.
Yum, though. I love bacon.
I know. And then I did the dishes, and then unfortunately, I couldn't get all of them in my dishwasher because too many pots and pans, but whatever. I have to do more. Stupid.
Pancakes.
Dishes are...
Pots and pans.
Oh my gosh.
That's one of my freaking, like...
Pancakes.
Pots and pans.
I love those vlogs.
Oh my god.
Dishes are the bane of my existence, though. They're like my least favorite chore. Dishes and laundry.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and then I did an eyelash appointment, and then I went got my prescription and a few groceries from Walmart. Stopped at Mom and Don's really quick, and then did research for this. So
Sounds productive. I love when days are, like, productive. It's, like, my favorite thing.
I have a lot of other things I should have been doing, though, so...
Felt that.
What did you do today?
Well, my day was supposed to start off hella early because I don't know if anybody actually knows this or not. I know some of our listeners are from North Carolina, but, our DMV is notoriously awful. Like, it is bad. Like, whatever you think could be bad, it's worse for North Carolina DMV. I kid you not. Like, sometimes you can go there at, like, people have to get there at, like, sometimes during the week. I've seen people get there at, like, 4:35 a.m. before they open at, like, 8. Okay? Like, it's that bad.
Good gosh.
And, so Chandler, my youngest little brother, he was wanting to get his license this morning. So I told him I would go with him, and he wakes me up, and he was like, Madeline? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, we can't go to the DMV today. My certificate of, like, proof of insurance or whatever expired. And I was like, fuckaroni and cheese. But
Fuckaroni and cheese.
I was also very happy that I didn't have to get up because it was like 6 a.m. and I was just like, I don't want to do this. And there's only certain locations open on the weekends, but I did not get any sleep last night. I was so tuckered out. And so that didn't happen, but Ember had her first birthday, which is Sierra's baby, which is crazy because literally I remember talking about Sierra, like, giving birth and, like, all that kind of stuff. Literally, it felt like it was yesterday, but
happy birthday,
I
Amber.
know, she's so chunky. I just love her little cheekies, and her little legs are just so chonk. And I joke with Sierra so much about Ember's feet because Ember has Sierra's feet, and Sierra has these fat little feet, and they're so cute. Even Sierra being Sierra. And I love to pick on her all the time and be like, oh my god, your youngin' has fat feet like you. And she's like, shut up. It's so funny.
That's awesome.
It's just so cute. They're just, the way that, oh my gosh, just so sweet. And just everything about it. And she had 3 little outfit changes. It was a Hobbit themed birthday party. So Sierra was dressed as a Hobbit. And, like, her husband and, like, all of them. I could not find my Renaissance dress. I know, stop booing. I know. But,
no.
but, it was still super fun, and her little smash cake was so cute, and she got it everywhere. Oh my gosh, it was crazy, but it was the sweetest thing ever. And then after that, I literally, me and my mom just kind of chilled out, and we watched this series about these women that were found in Long Island, and it was about, like, solving their murder and stuff. Probably the last thing I should watch after this week, but I was watching it.
Is that one called? Isn't it called the Long Island Murders or something like that?
I think it's called The Lost Girls or something like that.
Oh, on Netflix.
It was only 3 episodes.
Okay.
And so, I mean, it was interesting. And then after that, I did my research for this. Oh, well, I cooked dinner, of course. And then I did my research for this. So, overall, pretty lame, mostly day, but fun because of Ember. So,
Cute.
she just, ugh, the little chonk. I can't stand it. You should have seen her little Hobbit outfit. It was so cute. She had the cape. She had a little crown. Ugh! I can't wait for the pictures to be posted. But yeah.
That's so cute.
Yeah. It was a fun day. Fun chill day.
We love days like
Hell
that.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
Anyway.
I'll never forget when your mom did that in real life.
Yeah, she actually did, and it is still a consistent topic brought up on our girls' trips.
I when I was getting my lashes done, I was talking to my new tech, and we were talking about everything because it was, like I said, a couple hours we were together, and I was talking about Penhurst for a minute, like our like our trip, yeah. Hers like spooky stuffs too.
Yeah,
so.
this woman, this lady that I go to, I do not go to her religiously, but I have gotten facials done by her, and she's really into like the spooky stuff too. And when I told her about Penhurst, she was like super like excited about it. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you mean Penhurst Asylum, like in Pennsylvania?" I was like, "Yeah, man." Yeah, man.
We fucking been there.
Yeah, and people love, like, I think that when I tell people about, like, what I do and, like, what we do, people eat that shit up. They love it so much. And I'm like, I'm so glad.
Now, if only they'd freaking listen.
I know, but...
Okay, anyways,
I'm just so glad that people love it. Like, I love talking to people about it, because, like...
I know.
It is so fun.
Shout out to my homies from work if you do listen, because I've had several people, like, they find out about the podcast, so we open a dialogue, and some of them are like, I watch Project Fear too, and I'm like, let me tell you something about all of these people. No, I'm just kidding. Do you want the tea? No.
Do you want the dirtiest dirt?
I'm just playing. But yeah, some people do watch Project Fear or listen to us from just having those conversations from work. So if you hear from work, hello.
That kind of
Hey.
That reminds me, actually, Chandler asked me this question, and I'm like, I thought he knew this story. But he was like, how exactly did you meet Burgundy? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, online. He's like, no shit. I mean, like, how? And I was like, through Project Fear. At the time, it was Destination Fear. Like, live tweeting, and then live tweeting goes into following, and then following you
Comment back and
forth, and the next thing you know,
one day you're like, DM me, and then it's like, oh, now here's my phone number, and then it's like, oh my god, are we dating? And then
yeah, he could not wrap his head around it for some reason. I was like, listen, it's
and then
not that crazy.
Then for the phone number, it was like, do you want to fly across country and meet each other? And then it was like, oh my god, we're staying in the same Airbnb together? What?
Dude.
And then the rest is history.
That concept within itself is crazy.
Remember when you were little and your parents told you not to talk to strangers from the internet or ever meet them? And then one day I was like, hey mom, I'm gonna fly across the country by myself to meet strangers from the internet.
See ya.
Yeah. So
yeah, that shit's funny.
Weird world we live in. What was I gonna say about that? Oh no, I was gonna add something. I can't remember. Oh, that's how it always starts though. Like I'll be like, oh yeah, I have a podcast, and my podcast co-host, like when you're just talking to random people, you know, and they're like, oh, do you just like do your podcast at your house? And they're like, yeah, and they're like, oh, like they'll say something that leads into like, I'm like, oh no, like Madeline is from North Carolina, and they're like, what? And I'm like, what? Is that not normal? I thought that was normal.
That's always my favorite thing, too. I'll be like, yeah, Burgundy, she's from Wyoming. And they're like, huh? What?
Yeah.
I thought that wasn't a
It's
real
like my-
place.
Yeah. You're like, no, I've been there.
I've actually seen
It is a conspiracy. The government made me sign a paper saying I wouldn't talk about it. No. Conspiracy theory. So, yeah.
So,
But yeah, that is my favorite part about those conversations is people are like, wait, she doesn't live here? And I'm like, no.
not anywhere close.
Negative. I can't even drive to her on the weekend if I wanted
Nope.
to. So, don't know what to tell y'all, but yeah.
It's Anything else you wanted to add before we get into our topic?
No, we should probably get into this because after this we also have to talk about what's next for Fear Base.
Yeah.
So.
So sorry, I kind of spazzed a little. Do you want to tell the class what we're doing, or?
I think you should, because I think I did last time.
Did you? Okay.
Yes.
Well, for the finale, we're doing our big one. We're doing the infamous, famous Salem Witch Trials. And boy, do I have a lot to say about this.
Good. I do have notes.
Good.
I feel like I did not retain very well, which is sad.
I have a lot of
but
history on this in my good old noggin, and I came prepared.
Well, here, look at it. I have
Hell yeah,
more than
brother.
one page.
Yes.
Like last time I only had one page. I also have iPad with Google. I know these my puppies. Google pages pulled up also too, but I always suck at that part because I have to read, and then I'm like, I'm not gonna read this whole thing to you guys. But then it's like, where did the information I wanted to share go? So,
yeah, that part.
that part sucks.
Legitimately.
Okay. Go ahead and kick it off. I do say, I'm going to tell you right now, I have a whole list of all of the victims and why they were hung.
Good.
However you want to say it.
Well, not good for them, but
no.
good for us.
I wrote briefs of the info, so because the website has too much. So whenever we get to that part, I got us covered.
Gooch. All right, here we go. So, as I stated, this is one of the most infamous cases in American history. So let's just start off from the very beginning. All right. The Puritans headed to the New World, which was, the colonies, across the east coast of America. In the Northeast, specifically Massachusetts, an English settlement was founded in 1626 by a man named Roger Conant. In 1629, the settlement was named Salem from the Hebrew word shalom, which means peace. And I included that because it's kind of ironic.
That's ironic, yeah. I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, you went deep in the back.
No,
okay,
for
I'll
real.
see you.
Because, there's a lot of ironies surrounding Salem as a whole. And, unfortunately, the people that live there today, they're kind of haunted by their history, but they also will benefit by it a tremendous amount because of tourism. But the irony just, you'll see exactly what I mean as we go on through this. But nearly 70 years after its settlement, in January of 1692, yes, 1692, homies,
A long time
the
ago.
daughter, whose name was Betty, of Salem's head of church, Samuel Parris, and his niece Abigail began to show strange symptoms of affliction, where they claimed their muscles hurt and they would begin to contort as they would scream at the same time, okay? Samuel Parris called in the village doctor to assess the girls, and this doctor diagnoses them with bewitchment. I do feel like I need to add this because it's kind of important. So as outlandish as it may seem, to be diagnosed with bewitchment, we have to look at the historical facts of this time, right? So witchcraft was a real threat to people in this time, believe it or not.
Especially in England.
Especially
which is where it all
then.
started.
Because you have to like assess everything, right? So it was like the height of religious warfare, essentially. Like the Puritans escaped to the New World because of, they were being told how to practice their religion in England, right? So there was a lot of religious warfare. There was a lot of gatedness to it all. So of course these people who found threats against their religion, they would always be on the lookout for evildoers, the devil, and witchcraft, essentially, right? So Samuel Parris, of course, as one does, asked the girls, "Who did this to you?" To which Betty and Abigail replied with 3 names: Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and Tituba, who was their household servant, slave, essentially, all of which are outsiders, which I feel is notable in this case. Tituba was a woman of color. She was either indigenous or African. So she was obviously not from where these white English settlers were from, okay?
I actually read that she was from the Caribbeans.
Well, that's not America. But it's also not...
Yeah.
Well, okay, so like...
She was a slave for them.
It definitely very different from like England culture to, like Caribbean, right? And it's important that that's noted because like her practices were starkly different from, our normal white people practices, especially then. So seeing
Right.
with that being considered, like from a child's perspective and from like these white people's perspective, that could be like whatever she's doing could be considered as evil, abnormal,
Yeah.
because of their lack of understanding.
Right.
So suddenly, like after all of this, right, the affliction then starts spreading. The second family that was affected were the Partnum family, and they also blamed the same people as Betty and Abigail did.
Yeah.
So things aren't looking good for Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and Tituba. Just, it wasn't. You got a bunch of people against you already. In March of 1692, the accused were brought before the magistrate for confessions. Here's where things get a little strange, okay? Tituba goes in. She first denies she didn't do anything. But in the end of all of it, she then says that she did hurt the children, that the devil came to her and said he would kill her if she did not do it. This is like incredibly alarming for people who are really starting to become aware of a possibility of witchcraft being in their village. Sarah Good's daughter, Dorothy, was questioned as well. She was only 4, and this is essential, because they asked her if she was a witch, and she said yes. And you're never going to believe this, but that child was thrown into prison. Dorothy Good, at 4 years old, was thrown into prison.
Yep, because she said...
Just because she said yes.
She's 4.
Kind of crazy, all right? But at the time, it's just what it was, and it's very hard to comprehend or fathom that fact. So all of these women and Dorothy Good, the 4-year-old, were sent to Boston, which is the capital of the colony of Massachusetts, and they were kept there to await trial for a couple of months. So the governor needed to arrive back from England before a trial could begin. And in that time frame, things really started to spiral. Further accusations began to come about, all from more young girls being afflicted. 75% of those accused were women because they were seen as a gateway to the devil.
Yep. What I wrote was...
So interesting.
they decided that women were, where is it? I know I put it freaking on here somewhere. Women were believed to be more susceptible to being seduced by the devil. They were looked at as weak-willed, and they had loose tongues, and they all just thought because of the women's frail bodies, they were more likely to be witches.
So interesting. It's like the women who are bringing you into this world are a threat to you. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Not to seem like extra like feminist or anything, but that is wild. Though in the beginning, it started as outsiders being accused, more prominent members in society were then accused, such as Rebecca Nurse, who was seen as a, quote, good and pious woman, end quote. So more people were starting to get accused, which is crazy. I could never imagine someone who is seen in that light being accused. It's absolutely crazy. So here's the part that I really wanted to share on this podcast that I did not know before. And it's that there were two parts to Salem. And it was Salem Village and Salem Town. Salem Town was considered the nicer, richer, more like up with the times kind of area, whereas Salem Village was the poor backwoods side of Salem. So Salem Village itself was actually divided by two prominent families, the Porters and the Putnams. The Porters and allies were those who were connected more with Salem Town, and they were and that's where the Putnams were more old-fashioned. Okay, this is important because the accused witches came from the Porter network, whereas the afflicted came from the Putnam. So it was like poor against rich, essentially. So between January to May of 1692, 81 people were accused, with 49 of them in prison. So in May of 1692, Governor Phipps eventually arrives back in May. And I said May twice. Goodness. And anyway, so a lot's going on at this time in the colonies. There's war back home with the English and the French. In Maine, there is a war in the north. And Governor Phipps comes to Massachusetts and he's like, hey, yo, we got a witch trial going on. This is crazy. So it took him a while to get his footing, and the trials didn't begin until June. So I don't know. I know Burgundy went through and said that she had all of the people who were accused and why, like all that kind of fun stuff.
What happened?
But I did want to say before you got into that is that the accused had to defend themselves. They had no lawyers. And the young girls who made the witchcraft accusations were in the courts. Okay? They continuously and dramatically threw fits in front of the court. They would say things like, quote, she's attacking me. She's hitting me. She's throwing things at me, end quote, which further convinced people in that courtroom.
So, before I run through this list, a couple more things to note. Some of the people, so I don't think Sarah Osborne or Tituba, they're not on this list. So, it ended up being, the numbers vary slightly depending on where you get the information from, which is very interesting, but roughly 25 people died, 20 of which were hanged. 5 died in jail waiting to be hanged. So, I don't know if that has to do with how they, like maybe how they died, because the list is who was hanged, basically. But another thing is they allowed spectral evidence to be used in court, which just means people could say they had dreams or visions of these people being witches, and then that would count.
Unbelievable, by the way.
They had witch tests, which like were near impossible to pass, like such as they would tie your hands and feet and throw you in the river, And if you float, you're not a witch, and if you sink, you are. Oh no, if you float, you're a witch, so you're hung, and if you're not a witch, you sink, but you drown to death. So, yeah.
Absolutely, like, unbelievable.
Okay, so this is what's really, really fascinating is there's not a lot of detail anywhere as to exactly why any of these people were considered witchly, other than basically the girls said they were. So, starting at the very top, the very first person to be hung was Bridget Bishop. And I'm gonna go through these as fast as I can so that we're not like killing too much time here, but basically, her husband had died. His kids accused her of witchcraft. That was cleared due to a lack of evidence. She got remarried, and then she was accused of tormenting the afflicted girls, and that's why she was hung. She was the first one hung, and that was in June 10th, I believe. The July victims happened to be Sarah Good. As we all know, she was accused by the afflicted girls. She was one of the first ones accused. Elizabeth Howe. She got in disagreements with Samuel and Ruth Purley. Soon after that, their daughters started acting different, and so she was accused of tormenting their daughter via witchcraft.
Keep that in mind, people, when we get to theories.
Yeah. Susanna Martin is very unclear. Her story is incredibly unclear. Let me pull her back up on the website itself. She was accused of witchcraft twice, but both times the charges against her were dropped, and then her husband died, which left her poor, and then basically she ended up hung for witchcraft, and there's no... it doesn't say any reasoning as to why that happened. Rebecca Nurse, Matt's mentioned her already. She was accused once, and no charges were filed. When the Salem Witch Trials started, she was actually in her 70s. And then Ann Putnam and Abigail Williams accused her of being a witch. Sarah Wilds, she had several run-ins with the law, and she was accused by Ann Putnam and the other girls. I keep telling you who accused them for a reason. You'll figure it out. Hold on. So the August victims were George Burroughs. He actually was the minister of a church in a neighboring town up until that church got destroyed, and then he accepted an offer to be the minister in Salem village, but then he ran into several issues with the townspeople, and so Abigail Williams accused him of afflicting her. Martin Carrier, he had moved to Andover. So here's the thing. The Salem Witch Trials, like, they took place in Salem, but neighboring towns were affected by it. And Andover was one of them. That happens a lot, actually. So, she and... Hold on. I wrote too fast. I think I got the name wrong. Martha Carrier. It looks like Martin in my scribbles. Martha Carrier, she had moved to Andover, and after she had moved there was a smallpox outbreak. So the town accused her and her family of bringing smallpox. George Jacob Sr., he was known for having a temper. His granddaughter ended up confessing to being a witch, which she then implicated him and George Burroughs. John Proctor, he was accused of afflicting girls of, he accused the afflicting girls of lying originally. His servant was Mary Warren. She was one of the girls who made claims that she was being affected. And so she started exhibiting symptoms, but it was known that he beat her, so she admitted to lying due to that. And then he went out of town, and she started having episodes again, and so when he comes back, she accused him and his wife, which led to both of them being on trial. Joshua Willard.
Crazy.
Joshua Willard was actually the deputy who helped arrest some of these witches, and then he resigned eventually because he was believing that people were being falsely accused, at which point Ann Putnam accuses him. So then September, Gillies Corey was previously accused of a murder, which he got away with. He has been known to be violent. People suspected him of paying off the judge for getting away with his murder, and then Ann Putnam accuses him. Martha Corey is his wife, and she had a lot of disputes with a lot of people in town. And she was also critical of the girls and accused them of lying, so Ann Putnam accused her of tormenting her. Mary Eastie, she was the younger sister of Rebecca Nurse, so several townsfolk made claims against her, and Ann Putnam said that she was attacked by her specter. So the specter would be like people believed the spirits of these people were attacking them. Alice Parker, she's related to Gillies Corey, and she was like, all it said about her is she was inspected for witches' marks. And so I wrote that down because they believed things like skin tags were like witches' marks. Like if you had like a mole, they would consider that a witch's mark, and then you were accused
Well,
of being a
shit,
witch.
I would have been considered a witch.
Same. Mary Parker, most of her records for her case were lost.
Weird.
So I'm sure she has a similar. I'm sure Ann Putnam accused her. So
Ann Putnam was out here doing the most. Like, what the fuck?
I know. I think that's very interesting if you ask me. But what do I know? Let's see. What is this lady's name? Ann Puditor? Whatever. Her son testified against George Burroughs, and some people think that he testified against George so that his mom wouldn't be accused, basically, and then she was. Wilmot Red. So he was accused by a lot of the same girls and two different men in town. Margaret Scott, she became a beggar, which made her unpopular. And then Samuel Wardell admits to signing the Devil's Book and tormenting somebody named Martha Sprague. And then when he goes on trial, he changes his testimony and says he lied, and they hung him. So
I lied. Too late.
yeah. So basically, if you were unliked and or related to anybody unliked, you got hung.
Yeah, and because of all this, like, the witch hunt, as Burgundy said, like, it did affect the neighboring towns so much so it ended up affecting all of New England, actually. It attracted the attention of religious expert Increase Mather, who wrote that the accusations and spectral evidence is very much not as weighty as it may seem. And Governor Phipps, he respected Mather's opinion a great deal, especially, because he's a religious expert. He found his expertise so meaningful that he began to really think about these trials. Now, public opinion had already started weighing after the first, two sets of murder, the two sets of hangings. But everything was just kind of pushed away, whatever, if you're starting to defy against us, we're going to start considering you a witch, that kind of ordeal, right? So, basically, after Mather had released his, opinion, the public's opinion as a whole shifted just enough that Governor Phipps put an end to the trials. And so anyone who was jailed was freed. And the whole thing with Tituba and Sarah, who was the other Sarah? Why am I blanking?
There's Sarah Good and Sarah
Osborne. So Tituba and Sarah Osborne, they were more than likely freed. That's why they think that there's nothing.
They're not on the list.
So okay. Because...
Did you know...
Go ahead. No, I want you to go ahead.
Well, did you know that part of why the governor decided not to continue with the witch trials is because his wife was accused?
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up. So, and he's like, well, hitting too close to home.
Weird coincidence, guys. Oh.
So because of Paris's heavy involvement in the trials, keep in mind, his daughter and niece were the ones that started this whole thing. His heavy involvement in the trials, the family members of the executed managed to push Paris out of the village and out of his ministry. So the church structure fell apart in Salem. Neighbors weren't speaking to each other, and there were economic consequences because of this. In 1697, the General Court requested a day of fasting and prayer to remember the witch trials. There was a lot of guilt after the trials. I think, probably because a lot of people were just pointing fingers left and right. I mean, hundreds of people were accused and jailed. And I think that is ultimately like why people were like, yo, this is getting crazy. You know what I mean? So the judge that was involved in the trials as well, he issued a public apology for his participation in it. So I found that to be very interesting.
Interesting.
Now, did you have anything else to add before we got to theories? Because this is the part where I have quite a few theories.
Some of the research I did, it didn't specify, it didn't go into grave detail, but it said Abigail was responsible for a lot of these people being accused and whatnot, which is funny because when I ran through the list, everybody said Ann Putnam, but they were both, I guess, responsible based off of what we found anyways. Yeah. But Abigail was directly responsible in some research that you look up, right? For 15 of the hung accused.
That is insane.
Yeah. So this kind of makes
That's
it wonder.
Over half.
Yeah. That's three quarters of who was hung. There was one man was actually buried under stone.
Yeah.
Is how he died.
I'm pretty sure that was actually George Burroughs, I think.
Gotcha.
He was the one that was, yeah. I think the way that he passed away, it had something to do with if he died by execution rather than torture, his son wouldn't be able to inherit his property. So he passed by torture instead because they were trying to torture him to get a confession out of him. So that's why it happened the way that it did.
Gotcha. Okay. Theories time?
Yeah, theories time.
I could really only find one, like, real legitimate, like, this is probably why they were doing it. Everything else is just a generalized idea. So, ergo poisoning, I think is how you pronounce it. So, basically, the wheat plant that they were using to make their rye bread gets a fungus on it called ergo. And the ergo, like, made everybody, like, have hallucinations and muscle spasms. And that's what they think caused some of these fits, if you will. But that's also been... People are also saying that theory is debunked based off of very much a lack of evidence in that case, because a lot of people are like, if it truly was the rye, it wasn't just the kids who ate the rye, so why was it just the kids having these fits and the parents weren't having the same reactions, if you will?
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah, so do you got some you want to throw out?
I do.
there?
I have a couple. So
okay.
The first is that it was actually witchcraft. So I use Tituba as an example simply for convenience, not because of her skin color or anything crazy like that. But Tituba was the first accused, and she admitted that she did harm the girls afflicted per the orders of the devil. Now, that is I feel like as far as witchcraft goes, it's kind of pushing it, because it's like, this was a era of you needed to do and say what you needed to in order to survive. Also, a confession saying that, yes, I did it, actually prevented you from being hung. If you consistently said, no, I didn't do it, it further proved your guilt in their
They would
eyes.
be like, that's exactly what a witch would say.
Exactly.
Isn't Tituba the other person? There was a female I read, I just don't remember who it was, that admitted to signing the devil's book. Was it Tituba?
It probably was. I think she said more than that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I've heard so many
But
different things about Tituba.
also, though, if she's like a slave from a different country, has a different
Hmm.
language, was it a language barrier
See,
issue?
that's another thing too, but also like I don't know. In my personal opinion, that like the language barrier and just saying what she needed to say to survive, both
Yeah.
are more than likely what happened rather than her being a witch. Um
Yeah.
so another thing that I had wrote down was that the girls that were afflicted were under the influence of their parents. And by that I mean even if their parents weren't directly in their ear saying things or telling them to say things or whatever, that
Mm-hmm.
they kind of just like mentioned people like in the home of who they didn't like, who they wish maybe they mentioned in passing. Oh, I wish I could get rid of this person, like whatever. They're such a menace to society kind of ordeal. Um,
Well,
so
I did watch a documentary a couple months ago about this stuff, and I wish I still had those notes. I did write them down. I don't know where they went because it was months ago. But in that documentary, I think if memory serves me right, there was a story that one of it might have been the Parises because they actually had a plethora of kids in their house.
mhm.
Um, the story basically was like the girls found out the dad was having an affair, and so they started acting out.
Yeah, I that's another part of like my theories too, is that like they were acting out or maybe they thought it would be funny. Like I really think that yes, that's the start of it, but like at the end of the day, like how these judges and people in higher power, these adults took it is what ultimately ended the lives of so many innocent people. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, like I've read like a lot of articles and just like historians and just the general public saying things like it's all the girls, it's all the girls. Like yes, the girls, like they're children, you know, like they think things are funny and they do stuff for attention and they act out when there's things happening in the home that not everyone is publicly aware of. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, more than likely that is what happened because think about them being in the courtroom too and they're doing all that shit. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's just very interesting to me. And then my last theory was that, and this one is just like off the top of my head kind of shit, okay? Misogyny and racism to just rid of those who are viewed as less by society. Because Tituba, I mean, she was just chilling doing what she was supposed to do and she gets accused of being a witch and she's like, yo, what the hell? And then 75% of those accused were freaking women. So,
Well, and some of them, like, there were several of them who were just
yeah.
poor and beggars, and so they just didn't want to deal with
Mm-hmm.
that. The other one that I saw was kind of like it was mass hysteria,
Yeah.
right? So the church was actually like huge, like it was like a huge thing for the Puritans. Like you were required to go to
Mm-hmm.
church back then.
Yes.
There would be consequences if you didn't. But here's the kicker: the poor people, if you didn't have the right clothes, they wouldn't let you in the
Right.
church. So, um, so that basically they just needed, with the whole point that they all came from England and witchcraft was huge in England at the
Yeah.
time for several hundred years, I believe. Um, Basically, if you didn't go to church, you had to be dealing with the devil. So
It was,
that
there's
was
a
it.
lot of hypocrisy going on in Salem at this time. I mean, it was a lot of
Yeah.
pointing fingers, and it's like, okay, you all have got to chill out because you literally just escaped like the very thing that you're trying to create. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is
Yeah.
just insane. Like, it was just the whole thing was crazy. I mean, I'm not gonna give my opinion, but I think overall the general public, like their opinion is that the Salem Witch Trials, like if you're actually educated on the topic and you know the history of it, a lot of people don't think that it was paranormally motivated, but there are a lot of people who do think it was. And, I'm always interested to hear more about, certain historical topics. It's like my favorite thing ever. So,
Yeah.
if you are a person who believes that the Salem Witch Trials were paranormally motivated, in truth, and that it wasn't all crazy and it wasn't all for nothing, I would totally love to read your comment or your DM, because I want to be educated. You know what I'm saying? Like,
The thing is though, like I was having a hard time finding any real
Me too.
reasoning why people thought these people were witches.
me too.
And it was just mostly the kids accused them, the kids accused them, the kids accused them, the kids
It's like,
accused
great.
them. Like,
Okay. And
okay, what? So y'all are letting 9 to 12-year-olds make decisions on if people live or die?
well, not just that, but like when we were kids, like I just remember saying things like, boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider. So like, are you saying that if I said that, y'all would be like, oh my God, like boys go to Jupiter and they get really stupid. Like, you're going to take that as fact? Like, a child is a child. Like, they are not educated to the extent that we are. Like, they are innocent as far as they like can be, depending on what they're subjected to in their home. Like what I was saying about like what they could be hearing and why they were doing these things, and like, you just genuinely don't know, homie.
Well, let's say you do want to make it a paranormal thing, right? So the kids, because we always talk about how kids are more susceptible to paranormal
Yeah, that's true.
events, right? So what if these kids were actually seeing spirits, but nobody was talking about stuff like that because they were scared that was all dealing with the devil?
Yeah.
And so they didn't know how to articulate what was actually going
Right.
on. And so people that looked similar, like, I mean, back to your race thing, like, it sucks to say, but like people that look similar maybe to whatever the kids were experiencing, they're like, yep, that's what I saw.
Right.
Like, if you really wanted to try to make it a paranormal aspect, like, maybe they were seeing spirits, but it wasn't actually anybody that they actually knew.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and they just didn't understand or knew how to articulate it.
And even if they didn't know how to articulate it, like, I don't think the parents would even know how to like conceptualize that. Like, they would just be like, kind of like, what? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they definitely believed in ghosts and spirits and stuff back then. But I think like everything
believing in
was rooted in the devil.
in ghosts. Well, yeah, but believing in ghosts hasn't always been widely accepted as a like.
No.
It's okay for you to think this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
So even that alone, like, maybe like, shit, if you believe in a ghost, you are a witch type of thing back then, you know?
You're a witch!
You're a witch, Harry! No.
Oh, gosh. So, yeah, that was the Salem Witch Trials. It's our big one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very popular
What a mess.
in our history. That's for damn sure.
What a mess.
Big old mess. A lot of people died that didn't deserve it.
Yeah. It's very unfortunate, honestly. Cool. So, that's the end of season 6 for Fear Babes.
Yeehaw.
You're welcome. What comes next, you ask? Well,
A lot of differences.
Fear Babes. This was our 6th season. We always have some topic for every season that we do, right? Season 7 is strictly Project Fear. We will only be putting out episodes when Project Fear puts out episodes. So whatever their schedule is, ours is shortly after. So if they're putting out one video a month, you get one Fear Babes a month. If they're putting them out weekly, you'll get us weekly. If it's twice a month, like every other week, you'll get us every other week. Yay.
Yes. Yeah. Like, this podcast, it has been one of the biggest blessings of our lives, for sure. But our lives are changing in the same way. personally, and things that we don't discuss here on the podcast. And because of that, like, I feel like this is a healthy decision for us and you guys as our listeners. I feel like a lot of you guys do enjoy the Project Fear aspect of it, and we mutually came to this decision, and I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to work with our schedules and our lives more, and you guys still get to hear from us.
Yay.
It's a win-win.
So we're gonna run with that for a while, see how that goes, and then go from there. Cool. So on that note, if you like this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe wherever you are listening to Fear Babes Podcast.
That cracks me up every time. But yeah, so
why? Because I like switch
yeah,
gears.
You're like, da. Anyway, so
Oh, no.
yeah, thanks for joining us for our 6th season of this podcast, and we'll be seeing you here soon.
I believe Project Fear is the next episode. It's their Area 51. Comes out the 26th, they said. So we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye, babes.